My name's Jane, I'm an alcoholic. Thank you for sharing for me, Father, and thanks everybody for being here and making this meeting possible. So I just want to clear something up. So it's not my milestone, and I'm not 13 years. So I even complicate my recovery. I don't do things the same as what everybody else does. So I was 14 years sober on the 19th of July, and then 3 years later I then came into treatment in July. So the reason why I claim that sober time is because I was sober. Through them 3 years I never picked up a substance or did any, had a non altering substance in my body. I was just completely sober, and I was completely crazy as well. So we'll get to that later. So I think, for me, obviously, you sit there and think, right, I should really know about all what goes on in recovery and in the programme, what it's all about, because, evidence tells me here he is, sat here, 37 years in, So, I'm not going to go into all the heathen, what happened and stuff like that. All for identification is, all I'll, try to keep it simple is, identification is you're all here. So we're all, there's a reason why you're all here. You obviously haven't got your life wasn't going great, and you've got a problem with alcohol and stuff like that. So that's why we know we're here. For me, growing up until the age of 12, I didn't have a nice childhood. I really didn't. I came from a very dysfunctional family. My parents were, in the thickness of alcoholism and addiction and stuff like that. So I didn't have a very nice childhood. It's as simple as that. I never. But then, and for a few years when my dad was in and out of treatment and stuff like that, I didn't even know sometimes if my dad was dead or alive, I didn't know where he was, what he was doing, and stuff like that. So if a child just have to be able to deal with that and get on with it, I feel like sometimes I had to be really resilient in that kind of life and stuff like that, and just got on with what I had to get on with. So, fast forward when my dad finally gets recovery and he comes into it and he's doing what he's doing. He's not for a few years of my life, my teenage years, my life totally changed. My dad had a beautiful relationship. I used to go and visit him every weekend, and we did car boot sales together and all kinds of crazy stuff. Still always trying to make money with my dad, and I just went along with it. And it was right. It was really nice. It was beautiful, and I had a really nice relationship. And then I think what I always wanted as well. I always wanted to feel something. I always wanted to feel validation. I always wanted to feel like somebody, my family were proud of me. I always wanted to feel like I was, the best at certain things. Always, looking for that. Make me feel good about, who I am and stuff like that. Tell me you're proud of me. Do all that kind of stuff. And I never got that. So I always had to go and seek it, for myself. I had a child at a very young age, and I had to. That was difficult. But what I know today is that, thank God that both my parents were in recovery at that time to help me through that process, because it wasn't easy, And again, I go through all that thing where I think, God, here I am, I've brought shame on the family, I've had a child at a young age and all that kind of stuff. And it's all I ever felt I did was just brought chaos and shame to my family. And then what I used to do was I used to play that, I was a middle child, so obviously I was I played on that, I had middle child syndrome. The reason why you all pick on me and you all give me shit is because I'm the middle child, The eldest always gets the best, the youngest gets treated great, and I'm in the middle and I get nothing, That's what my head told me. Not that I created all the nonsense, they all created my nonsense. So, fast forward, because I want to try and talk a lot about what recovery's given me, but let me tell you this. How I can describe myself is throughout the whole of my drinking days and stuff like that, I was like a pinball machine. And I went, every situation that I went to in my life, I caused absolute chaos, misery, everything, And the delusion, what I suffer with today is that I actually thought that where I went, that all them people that I were involved with, they actually caused chaos to me. I was the victim, I didn't do anything to them, they did stuff to me, I got into relationships that were faulty and that weren't nice, I was physically, mentally abused in relationships, but I had a part to play in that, because I probably should have left them relationships, or I probably antagonised them more to make them be like that, and I know that today, you know, and I accept that. You know, so I have 3 more children. You know, I've got Madison, so I've got Jamie, who's my eldest, and I've got Madison, and then I've got Harvey, and then I've got Grace. What I know about my 2 eldest children today is that I robbed their childhood from them. I robbed it, you know. I dragged them children up in my alcoholism. I neglected them. I wasn't there for them as a mother, even though I thought I was, because in between all this, I had a very good job. I trained to be a teaching assistant. Another thing that I thought, you know, this is where people should be proud of me, you know, because I've gone out and I've done what I've had to do, you know. And I had that job for a long time, and I you know, truly believe today that it kept me in my madness. And I always remember one time, you know, we'd had a family meeting, so I was part of the family meeting. You know, we're having a family meeting. Oh, who's it about? Oh, no shit, it's obviously about Jane. Yeah, great, let's go. You know, and I'd sit in them family meetings because, you know, obviously, you know, the people that were in them family meetings, my mum, my dad, knew they could see the chaos that I was creating. But still, again, it's like, no, you just want, you know, just want me to be that person. You want, you know, because they'd always say, you know, it's part of like who we are. It's hereditary. I truly believe that. And I thought, but I'm not going to be that one, you know. And I remember at 25 years old, I got took to a meeting. My mum took me to a meeting, because my life was totally out of that, you know, it was just chaotic. And she was just like, listen, please just come to a meeting with me. So I was just like, whatever. So I went to a meeting in the UK, and it was probably about 7 people in there, all men, bar me and my mum. Really not being like awful to like old people, but at the time when I'm 25, they were probably only about 40, but to me they looked about 80. And I was just like, so I sat there and you know, and obviously, you know, they go and they're talking, and I'm just like, And when they say like, look for similarities, not differences, I was going, no. I was thinking, get me out of here. And I remember walking out and I just went to Mum, don't you ever take me to something like that again. I said, you're all mental. And I was like, and I said, and I don't know how that stops you from drinking. I said, because that makes me want to drink more. I said, so I am not part of that, and I never will be, you know. And, you know, sadly, because I went in there and I wasn't ready, but sadly, what I had to do then from 10 years forward, I wrecked more lives. I created more pain, not just for myself, but for everybody around me, you know. Just because I wouldn't listen, just because I wouldn't do what people were asking me to do. But what I know today is that's all right, because I wasn't ready. And I had to go through all that other stuff to get me where I am today. And I know that's all right, you know. I've dealt with all that stuff. So, fast forward, you know, I'm kind of like, I can see that, you know, my life's not great. And I start to, because I used to like drinking, you know, I enjoyed drinking, I enjoyed going out drinking, socialising, being the life and soul of the party and having like loads of friends, like I thought were friends. I liked doing all that kind of stuff, but then all of a sudden what I realised was that I started not to like drink. It started to become a coping mechanism for me, and that's when I started to think, whoa, dear, you know, I think this is a little bit dangerous. And I started to realise that myself. So what I thought I would do is, I just thought I would stop drinking and that would be alright, you know, and I still didn't have to have a programme and recovery and stuff like that, because again, like I said, I didn't know anything about recovery. Even though my parents were in it, I knew nothing about it. All I knew was that their life had changed. They go to meetings and that's it. I didn't know anything about what went on in the meetings, what the step work was about, nothing. Didn't know anything about it. Because I wasn't interested. So I'm not going to start looking, you know, try to investigate something that I don't care about. So it's just like, whatever, you know, just change your life, do what you do, fine. And I always remember when my mum first came into recovery, and she was going to like a meeting nearly every night. And I remember saying to her, do you know what, I see less of you as a man now when you're sober than what I did when you weren't, you know. But again, what I realised today, that's how it had to be. But I just didn't get it. So so I stopped drinking for 3 years on my own, and it was hard graft, let me tell you, because I had nothing. What I realised was drinking was like my solution, got me away from having to deal with like life and and you know, feelings and all that kind of stuff. So take away the drink, and I haven't got a program, so I'm just left with absolutely nothing. I'm in no man's land. I haven't got anything. I haven't got nothing to use to get away from all that stuff. So I just still did stuff that I shouldn't have been doing to fill the void. I was still getting involved in relationships I should not have been getting involved with, just to make me feel good about me. I was still neglecting my children, you know, even though I didn't think I was, but I clearly was, you know. So for the first time ever in my life, 37 years old, you know, I just went, I need to do something. So I ran on my mum, and I just said, listen, you need to help me. He said, because I'm going to kill myself. I said, because I can't live like this anymore. I said, it's fucking awful. I said, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And she went, well, yeah, you do. And I went, and she went, and I was like, honest to God, really? And she was like, yeah, make the call. And I was like, oh my God. Because I knew deep down that this is where I'd be coming. And it's the last place that I wanted to come at that time. But I did, you know, and I remember them, you know, getting excited and booking the flight and stuff like that. And I still don't think for this day that I was going to get on it. But I knew I was going to get on that flight because I was ready. I was desperate. I wanted to change my life. And I remember saying to my little girl, Grace, she was only 2.5. And I remember waking her up when I was about to leave, and I was like, I'm going now. I said, and I'll be back soon. And she was like, where are you going? And I was like, well, I'm just going to go and get you a new mummy. She was like, but I like this mummy. And I was like, I know, but I'm going to get you a real better version, I promise you. And off I went, you know. And when I arrived, you know, same as what most people have been through. If you've been through it, you know it. And if you haven't been through, it doesn't matter, because you're still going through something, coming to meetings and you're doing what you're doing. And I remember rocking up and getting told them 3 words, you know, ask, listen, and do as you're told. And I always remember thinking, you know, well, you know, I can ask, so I'm all right with that, and I can listen, because I knew I was quite a good listener. And then I thought, the do as you're told bit, that's going to be quite difficult, you know. And I always remember them first things saying, like, be open-minded, and I thought, well, I'm the other side of the world, can't get more open-minded than that. Be willing, and I thought, well, I'm willing, definitely, because I'm here. And then when they said be honest, I thought, oh, what does that look like? I've never been honest all my life, never. Not honest about anything, not about how I felt, who I was, where I was, what I was, never knew how to do that. I never knew how to do it, you know. But I thought, you know, I need to do what I need to do, because I wanted to get well. I wanted to experience a different life, you know. I miss a little bit out. I came here for a holiday before I came into treatment with my son. And I'd stopped drinking, but he was just about starting to become in the madness, you know. He was drinking and stuff like that. And I remember going up to the treatment centre and seeing people, and, you know, they were laughing and joking and stuff like that. And I was like, and I remember I went for a walk on the beach with a lady, and she said to me, so you've not had a drink for 3 years? And I was like, no, like dead proud of it, no. She was like, okay, but you've nothing to do with recovery. And I went, no. And she went, well, why do you still look like that? And I was like, what? I went, what do you mean? Because I was thinking I was looking quite all right. And she was like, you look dead behind the eyes. And I was like, wow. I never even heard that before. I was like, I don't know what that means. So I kind of just brushed it off, just like, whatever. And then I remember I was given the big book, of course I was, for the Christmas present. I know I've shared this a while, but it's important for my story, that the guy that gave me the big book is not with us today, Brian. And he wrote inside it, and he wrote, I hope you find yourself in this book. And I remember opening it and looking at it and just thought, whatever. Remembering I'm still not in it yet, so I still don't know what that really meant. And then what I know today is I knew exactly what he meant, you know, and the sad reality is that he gave me that book, it gave me my life back, and sadly he's got taken away from him. And that's how powerful all this stuff is, you know. That guy was like, you know, he was sober for a long time. And then obviously, you know, took his foot off the gas, and what happened, you know, it's like I was thinking today about the people that have been here while I was on my journey, and the only people that are around still is obviously my dad, Pat, and Caleb. The other counsellors are either dead or the back out there and using, you know, and that's, you know, people don't like the statistics, but there they are. It's as simple as that, you know, that's the truth there, whether you see it or not. So coming into recovery, you know, and I forgot to, you know, they were going to fast track me. 6 weeks fast track I was going to have. I was like, again, special and different, fast track me, brilliant. And then I remember when I started to do the work and started to look at myself, I was thinking, no one's fast tracking me through here. I was thinking, I'm going to have to stay here a lot longer. I don't know about fast tracking me. But what I know is throughout all that, I was willing to do whatever they asked me to do, and I had to make the call to ask Harvey and Grace's dad if he would look after them longer, and I was really worried about that because, you know, we didn't really have a nice relationship, and I put it off for about 3 days. At the time, my counsellor was Annie, and she kept saying, if you made that call, and I was going, oh no, I couldn't get to the phone, the queues were too big. She was like, try again tomorrow. I was like, okay. I hadn't even been in the queue, I didn't even go in it, you know, still dishonest. And then she said, have you made that call yet? And I went, no. I said, I couldn't, the lines were down. And then she went, no you weren't, you little liar. And I was like, oh my God. And then she went, make the bloody call. I made the call and he just went, yeah. I was like, wow, it's that simple? He just said yes. I was like, wow. That's when I started to realise things were kind of working in my life, you know. So anyway, you know, I did my treatment, you know. I remember when I did my step 4 and 5 process, and I remember the next day I looked in the mirror and for the first time ever saw me. So I remembered what that woman had said to me, look dead behind the eyes, and for the first time I actually thought, here I am. I saw that spark in my own eyes and I thought, here she is. This is working. This is actually working. You're getting what you're getting, you know. And I thought, you're getting that mother back that you said to that little girl you're going to give her. And I was like, I'm here, and I'm going to keep doing it. And I thought, and if anybody stands in my way now, God help you, because I'm getting what I need to get, you know. And it gave me a massive kick up my arse to you know, to have proof in the programme that it was doing what I was promised it would do for me, you know. So I did the work, and I you know, 3 months I was ready to leave. You know, and it was a beautiful process to be able to go to leave there, to, you know, be connected with my dad again. Because by the way, my dad was my biggest resentment, and no shit, you know. and I missed a little bit out, but it's important. And I remember when I first rocked up there, and obviously Dad had probably, well not probably, I know that he did, told people about me. She's coming, she's a liar, she's this, she's that. It's like, you know. But I knew why he was doing what he was doing, because he really wanted me to get well. And I remember this lad came like bounding down the corridor, and I was making a cup of tea, and he had a bald head, and he came in and went, Eugene? And I went, yeah. And he went, so when was the last time you had a drink? And I was like, you know, I thought, were you the alcohol police? And I went, so I told him my date, and he was like, are you sure? And he was like trying to trip me up with things, and I was like, when I said to this guy, who is that? And they went, oh, that's me, Caleb. And I was like, right. And it wasn't Councillor Caleb, it was another Caleb that I was in treatment with. And we became really good friends in treatment, and he taught me a lot, because the reason why he was bald was he had cancer, leukemia, and he was trying to not only deal with that, but he was also trying to deal with, like, you know, alcoholism as well. And sadly he died from leukemia. And what he taught me was that he said, no matter what you go through in life, and no matter what gets thrown at you, just smile and be grateful and be happy for what you've got. And I was like, wow, you know, I thought that blows my mind. But I've always tried to practice that. So when I came out of treatment, I, you know, came back to the UK, and I had to go back to that meeting where them old guys were. And I was like, oh my God. And I remember walking in, and they were still there, you know, but they were really nice to me. They were really kind, and it really helped me with my recovery, you know. And for a whole year, I didn't do anything. When I went back to the UK, I didn't work, I didn't do anything. What I did was I became a mum. I was there for my children 24/7, and did everything that I had to do as you know, a mother should do for the child. You know, I loved them, and I cared for them, and I guided them, and I did everything that I could for them. And then it wasn't until I kind of like built the foundation of that, then I realised, you know, I can start doing certain things, and doors started to open for me. I got a little teaching job again, but just part-time. You know, I was totally like in my recovery, going to regular meetings, doing everything that I should have been doing. And then I started to become unwell, like not well at all. And I remember I was losing a lot of weight. I had a really bad headaches and stuff. And I remember phoning my mum, and she was like, "What do you think's wrong with you?" And I think I've got a brain tumour. And she was like, "Oh my God." She went, "Will you just go to the doctors?" I was like, "Oh." I was like, "Okay." You know, still, you know, thinking that everything's like bigger than what it is. And so I went to the doctors, and they just said, "Yeah, you're a diabetic." I went, "Okay, what does that mean?" And they said, "You're type 1 diabetic, and you will now have to inject yourself for the rest of your life." And I was like, wow. And I was like, oh my God, you know. And I remember I had to go in hospital, and I had to have drips put in me because I was severely dehydrated. I was probably about 2 weeks away from going in a diabetic coma. I was that ill. And I remember coming out of the hospital, and I remember phoning my mum and my dad, and I was like really upset, and I was like, "I don't think I can do this. This is like awful." And my mum just went, "Well, don't mean to be awful, love, but you did think you had a brain tumour, and now you just got diabetes." I was like, wow, you know. I was thinking, Jesus. Talk about, you know, putting it into perspective, but great, because it was. And I think, you know, because I kind of like thought to myself, with my higher power, I thought we had a really nice relationship. I thought things were going really well, and I thought, why have you done that to me? Why have you done that to me? Why have you given me that? And what I know today is, it's because it reaffirmed to me that I had to deal with it with this programme. I had to realise that I was powerless over it. I've got it, there's nothing I can do to change it, so I've got to do the things to keep me alive. So I've got to inject myself 4 times a day. I've got to check my blood sugars, just like to keep my recovery. I've got to go to meetings, I've got to work the programme, I've got to have a sponsor, I've got to have service. That's what keeps me alive, you know, that's why I do the things that I do. So I know that it reaffirmed to me that huge, massive acceptance around everything, that just accept, you know, it is what it is, and that's where I am with it and stuff like that. So what I'll tell you about my journey in recovery is that it's not been easy, and we talk about the golden thread, and what I believe today is that every single person in this room is part of a golden thread, whether you believe it or think it or see it or not. It's a true fact, you know. There's people in this room that are golden threaded to me. You know, like, you know, Ruan is a golden thread to my son through this, you know. Cass is a golden thread to me through this, you know. I've only just met Miranda, she's a golden thread through this. There's everybody, Stelio, you know, Daniel, I could name people. Z, you can see Z at the back, he's a golden thread as well. You know, it's just like, this stuff is amazing, do you know what I mean? It's like, you never know how it all works. I just know that's what we do, that's what it's about, you know. And fast forward, I've been able to, you know, Jamie that I dragged up and robbed your childhood from him and brought him up in my addiction and drank with my son and stuff like that. Today, he's now in recovery. And we're on this journey and this path together, which is absolutely beautiful. I actually work with him today, you know. He got me a job, and we work together, and he helps me and all that stuff, you know. Madison, you know, we struggled for a long time in my recovery. Struggled. She didn't like me. She held me emotionally hostage because of the way that I brought her up and stuff like that. It was really difficult. We went through phases where I didn't speak to her, she wouldn't speak to me, she had nothing to do with me, she hated me. And what she hated was, she hated the relationship that I had with my youngest daughter, because them two were brought up in my addiction, they were brought up in recovery, so we had like a real different relationship, and she was jealous, which I get, you know. And we had to come to realisation. I just said, listen, I can't change anything that I did in the past, you know, all I can do is what I can do now, so please will you just stop doing that and just allow me to be your mum. And today I'm going to be a grandma to that daughter. I used to do this all the time in treatment. People were pissed off with me, Jane the crybaby. But these are happy tears today, you know, because this is what the programme's given me, that I'm able to be a man and help her become a man. And Harvey is the biggest pain in my ass, that kid. But I absolutely love him, you know. He's going through a journey, and I've been able to help him through that journey. And it's not always been easy, you know. I haven't helped him with love. I've had to help him with some tough love as well. But I've had guidance through that, because that's how I was trained. And that's what was needed for me, so I get it, you know. And Grace, she would say she's practically perfect in every way. And I believe she is. Because of the relationship that we have today. Because what I know today is, I absolutely love my children. And that's something that I never didn't know how to do. And the biggest thing I have today is I have a relationship with this man sat here who I absolutely adore. And yeah, he's a pain in the ass. Of course he is, you know. And yeah, he's bonkers. Of course he is. He's just like me, you know. He's just like us, you know. He's a. We've had struggles. We have had struggles, you know. We fight fire with fire. That's who we are. That's our personalities. That's what we do. Thank you. And what I know it is today is I'm so passionate about this as much as what he is. And there's never been anywhere where my dad's gone, and anywhere where he goes or what he does, it always goes to a meeting. And that's exactly what I do. Because I know it works for him, so why is it not going to work for me? Evidence tells me that, you know, so that's what I do. You know, I sponsor people today. I enjoy watching, you know, I've got like a woman that's in the fellowship. I've had her since she was 24, she's now 32, she's just become a mum. And she's also going to be another mum, and she's due the same time as my daughter, which is just beautiful, you know, that I'm going on a journey with a recovery, my daughter and my real daughter, you know, because that's what this fellowship has given me. I'm able to be part of people's lives, you know, I come over here, I connect with people, you know, I do what I have to do for my recovery, you know. What I do know today is, and this is really important, and especially for women in recovery, you know, because there isn't a lot of us, and it's hard, it's a hard, you know, fellowship to be in. What I know is that I am who I am today, I'm true to myself. I have true integrity today, I know that. I love who I am, I accept who I am, and, you know, if people don't like me, then that's absolutely fine. I ain't got a problem with that today. And if you do like me, that's really nice, great, thank you. But if you don't, it's alright, I'm alright with that today. You just won't be in your circle, and that's alright as well, you know. Because I have a very small circle today, because that person that I used to be with, that I needed loads of people to be around me and all that kind of stuff, because that's what I thought made who I was. You know, what I know today is I have a very small circle of friends in my life today, and the reason why I have them small circle of friends is not because I'm fussy, and not because it's because I know if anything I went through in my life, or if I struggled with something, that as soon as I rang them, they would be there for me, because that's what true friendship means to me today, and I know the value of it and what it's about, you know. So yeah, I think I'll probably just leave it there, because it feels like it's a really nice place to leave it. So thanks.